Hello, myself Nitish. As you know, we are dealing with water supply and treatment engineering subject. Here I am for the part number 3 video of module number 4, which will be dealing with the disinfection. So disinfection, in that disinfection we studied about the topic which are what are the types of disinfection and what is disinfection, stabilization, difference between the disinfection and action of the disinfection, and what are the advantage and disadvantage, as well as the different methods of the disinfection, different types of the disinfection. In that method, chlorination, different forms of chlorination, different types of chlorination, as well as different application of the chlorination, as well as different water forms and that actions on the water application, that is where chemical actions, reactions on the water that we studied in the part 1 and part 2 videos. Part 3 videos will be dealing with a continuation. From that we'll move to part 3, that is the last class. We are very important topic which we will discuss, that is breakpoint chlorination, zone 1, zone 2 part. Zone 1 means what? Here the chlorine demand, where the chlorine is required for the other actions, the other reactions. That the reaction is on the ions, that is manganese or sulfide or nitrate ions, that is agents of ions, reducing agents like I. Then some of the microorganisms. So then the zones with the formation of monochromine as well as chloroorganics. That is third zone is the monochromine is converting to dichromine or trichromine and nitrogen trichloride, where that is called the combined residual chlorine. And the last zone will be free available chlorine. Just we'll discuss what is free available chlorine in the next slide. I hope so. We'll discuss now what is the free available chlorine means. Okay, so this will be helpful for your next slide. So what is residual chlorine then? That is called free available chlorine, what I told. So this is called free available chlorine. That is what we are required. Okay, so now we'll go to a residual chlorine. A residual chlorine is nothing but the evidences of microbes growth, regrowth in the treated water. Inconclusive, the residual chlorine in the water aim to protection against any regrowth of the recontamination by preventing the microbes growth in the water treated water, specifically when the water is biologically unstable. Are you getting now? Why we are keeping residual chlorine? The residue should be there in the water. There will be a particular limits also residual chlorine. For example, if you take 0.1 or 0.2 milligram per liter should be there in the water, because why? After your chlorine dosage action or after your disinfection action, there will be the evidence of the microbes regrowth. There will be evidence of the microbes regrowth in the treated water. Is inconclusive. Residual chlorine what will do? It will be aims of the protection against any regrowth or recontamination by preventing the microbes in the water, treated water. That is the treated water. This residual chlorine aims on the aims. So that is, see here this figure is nothing but the microbes. This zone 3 till zone 3 where all the actions will be. This will be free. That is, see, this is a zone which will be action. This zone is action of your killing the bacteria. So this is the zone which is a reaction on the water. That will be if present of these particles or these chemicals or these agents, then this will be reaction on that. But here, this is the portion where killing of the harmful bacteria or the disinfection action takes place. But this is the point where residual chlorine is present. Why residual chlorine is important? That is a regrowth. After treatment also regrowth should be there. Means that has to be controlled manner. Okay. Again, one more I can say that water travels in the pipeline also, there may be a chance of contamination of or bacterial growth. So the regrowth of bacterial growth should be avoided. Means you should have residual chlorine. You may feel the smell sometimes in the water supply, municipal water supply. So residual chlorine will be used to be there in the chlorine used to be smells sometimes. That is also one of the important factors of residue. Now, if you concentrate on another topic, that is water temperature and nutrient concentration are not generally elevated enough with the distribution system to support the growth of E. coli in, that is to support the growth of E. coli, that is enteric pathogenic bacteria. Okay, what is E. coli? That is enteric pathogenic bacteria. Water treatment and nutrient concentration. See, water temperature. For example, maybe say water temperature is around so and so degree Celsius. Nutrient concentration are generally elevated enough within the distribution system to support, that is enough within the distribution to support the growth of E. coli. What is E. coli? E. coli, you know that it's a enteric pathogenic bacteria in biofilms. Thus, the presence of E. coli should be considered as the evidence of the recent fecal contamination. Okay, this is evidence of regrowth. Viruses and the resulting stages of parasites, cysts are unable to multiply in the treated water. However, biofilms are coating with organic and inorganic material in pipes that can be harbor or allowed to proliferation of few bacterial pathogens, including Legionella and Mycobacterium avium complex, that is MAC. Residual chlorine in the water can also control non-pathogenic slime forming organisms. Okay. This is about the enough clarification of your residual chlorine. Okay. Now we'll move to another slide. The risk. What is the risk which will be factored under chlorination? That is especially in the byproduct of the disinfection. Especially in the byproduct of the disinfection. That is called chlorination risk. Disinfection by byproduct, DPBs. So if you say chlorine in the water, also react with a natural organic compound to form potentially harmful chemicals. Byproduct typically reflect disinfection byproducts such as trihalomethanes, THMS, or haloacetic acid, that's called HAA. Haloacetic acid. So now, if you discuss, so anyway we are going to apply chlorine, isn't it? There will be a formation of chlorine. But in this case, what we are going to do is, chlorine in water is also reacted with a natural organic compound to form potentially harmful chemicals. And whenever react with a natural organic compound, for example, if there is a natural organic compound to form potentially harmful chemical byproduct, that is called byproduct. That is called disinfection byproduct, DPBs. What is the harmful byproduct called? Your trihalomethanes and haloacetic acid. That is called organic matter plus chlorine based disinfection. That is equal to disinfection byproducts. DPBs are usually carcinogenic in large quantities and regulated by several regulatory agencies. That is what DPBs. What is DPBs? DPBs means disinfection byproducts are usually very carcinogenic. Carcinogenic means what? It is harmful to health. Byproducts are harmful to health in large quantities and regulated by several regulatory agencies. If some there will be regulatory agencies for each and many of the byproducts, they will handle with the well manner, so that is called regulatory agencies. So if we see regulations regarding disinfection byproduct is completed as through water disinfection is critically to preventing waterborne illness. That's waterborne illness. But disinfection practices also lead the formation of disinfection byproducts. Okay. So there will be a regulation regarding disinfection byproducts is complicated. As through the water, disinfection is critical to preventing waterborne illness. Okay. The formation of DBPs may be minimized by effective removal of many organisms from water as possible prior to the chlorine addition. How many organic matter? How it is possible then? The formation of DPBs may be minimized. DPBs, how it is formed? Do you know that? Already I told DPBs formed only due to what? Natural organic compound present in the water. Natural organic compound present in the water means then only your DPBs will be produced. That is called byproduct will be, disinfection byproduct will be produced. That is carcinogenic. That carcinogenic has to removed by what? We have to, before water comes to disinfection tank, we should reduce the organic matter. How? That is the proper disinfection, proper filtration, proper sedimentation, proper coagulation. That is enough to reduce the reduce the DPB. Okay. So now chlorine dioxide and chlorine dioxide, again see the dioxide, which is chlorine dioxide and your formation, the chloramine formation, that is your form. What form you are applying chlorine dosage? That is maybe in the form of chlorine dioxide or in the form of chloramine. In this two process, there will be less DBBs than direct application of chlorine. Okay. So now, if we come to types, there will be some types in the chlorination, applying chlorination. That is plain chlorination, pre-chlorination, post-chlorination, breakpoint chlorination, superchlorination, dechlorination. So what are the types of chlorination? Plain chlorination, pre-chlorination, post-chlorination, breakpoint chlorination, superchlorination and dechlorination. Okay. So now plain chlorination, only chlorination for few for raw water contain turbidity. Only chlorination for raw water contain turbidity. That is only the chlorination. The dosage of the chlorine for the plain chlorination is about only 0.5 milligram per liter. But the second form is pre-chlorination, may be applied to the water before coagulation for heavily contaminated water. It is pre-chlorination may be applied to the water before coagulation for heavily contaminated water. The chlorine dose may be pre-chlorinated, may be 0.1 to 0.5 milligram per liter. Always by post-chlorination ensure finally safety of the water. It has become much lesser common in the Western countries due to risk of DPBs. Pre-chlorination should be avoided. Why I am telling it is, your plain chlorination is okay, it's normal chlorination, and post-chlorination is also no problem. But pre-chlorination is nothing but in the coagulation you are adding, because heavily contaminated. There will be a removal, but what happened? If the removal of organic matter, that will be a byproduct will be formed. In this byproduct, again it is carcinogenic. So see, many of the big Western countries are removed. This method is removed because DPB forms. Disinfection byproduct will be formed. So that many of the Western countries are not following. So what? Why we are doing this? This is the work done. Your work. The process will be easy, and chlorine will action will be easy, faster, and there will be water treatment efficient is more, but byproduct is also more. But what about post-chlorination? Post-chlorination is a normal process of applying chlorine in the end. Normal process. Applying the chlorine in the end. Intended to leave residual chlorine about 0.1 to 0.0 milligram per liter after 20 to 30 minutes of the contact. Are you getting now? Once the complete treatment is over, I mean disinfection process, there should be some pre-chlorination. Residual chlorine. Residue should be there. That is around 0.1 to 0.2 milligram per liter. Why residue should be there? Residue because regrowth of the bacteria microorganisms should be also killed, harmful microorganisms. For that, we should have residual. So that how we will come to know, that is after 30, how it will be become 20 to 30. That is only after your how we will come to know that residual chlorine is available. That is after 20 to 30 minutes of the contact time of disinfection process, that is chlorination process. After that, the remaining chlorine is called as residual chlorine. That is about post-chlorination. That's all about post-chlorination. Now, another chlorination called breakpoint chlorination. Breakpoint chlorination, to get the idea of an amount of chlorine to be added to the water for desired residual chlorine, especially when intention is to leave free chlorine residual in treated water. To get an idea of amount of chlorine is to be added to water for desired residual chlorine, especially when intended to leave free chlorine in the residual treated water. So that is breakpoint chlorination. What is superchlorination? You can see here the breakpoint curve. Which one is breakpoint chlorination? You can see here. This is the breakpoint chlorination up to here. Okay, this is breakpoint. After that, intended because of residual chlorine. This is what explain breakpoint chlorination. Superchlorination is nothing but addition of excessive chlorine 5 to 15 milligram per liter to give about 1.2 milligram per liter. like that. May be required for some special cases like water highly polluted or during epidemics of waterborne diseases. If some epidemics such as waterborne diseases, that time you can use as a superchlorination or the critical condition if or the water is highly polluted. And what is dechlorination? Dechlorination is nothing but removal of the chlorination. Dechlorination is nothing but the removal of the chlorination. Okay, that is what we are going to remove of the chlorine in the water. That is removing the chlorine using dechlorine agents such as sulfur dioxide. If excess chlorine is there, then we are going to remove. So now that is sulfur dioxide gas and activated carbon, sodium thiosulfate, sodium metasulfate and ammonia can be used for this particular concept, that is dechlorination. So generally required post superchlorination to reduce residual chlorine to 0.2 milligram per liter. Generally required post superchlorination to reduce residual chlorine up to, for example, after your 20 to 30 minutes of the contact period, that is what is 20 to 30 minutes of the contact period? That is the complete action of the disinfection. That is complete action of the disinfection till break point. Till break point. That means your chlorine demand as well as your killing of the pathogenic bacteria. That is complete time is required, around contact time is required 20 to 30 minutes. After that, the remaining chlorine is called as residual chlorine. That residual chlorine should be 0.1 to 0.2 milligram per liter. If it is excess, that is has to be removed by dechlorination. And we have to make only 0.2. For example, even after breakpoint chlorination, there will be a after also 20 to 30 minutes of the contact period, there will be 1 milligram per liter of chlorine dosage will be there, or 0.5 milligram dosage will be there in the water. So that has to be removed. For the residual chlorine limit is only up to 0.2. So that by using of sulfur dioxide gas, activated carbon, sodium thiosulfate, sodium metasulfate and ammonia. Okay, that is about your types of chlorination. So very important as per the point view of our this chlorine disinfection. So now we'll move on to another topic, that is before going to another topic of the disinfection method. Before going to that, we'll see some pictures of the dosage. So now we can see here the chlorine system. This is, you can see here, chlorine gas. This system is followed. There will be vacuum pump will be there. See, this is flexible chlorine pipe is fitted here. This is chlorine is present here. There will be automatic panel is there. So here vent is there. So chlorinated water will be here and it will be come out. So you can see here typical gas container equipment. This is the cross sectional view of the, this is the room, which is the supply. We can see here the supply. Okay. About this is a typical gas under pressure. In the, if it is in a gas, then it will be in the, if you are using as hypochlorite, then it will be you can see here, this is the delivery pipe will be fitted, and this is one of the hypochlorite system. So if you move to another topic, ozone treatment. If you move to ozone treatment, this is one of the another method which will be followed as another method which will be followed, similar, but it's a treatment of ozone, that is treatment of chlorine, right? Chlorine as a disinfectant, but this is ozone as a disinfectant. Ozone is one of the strongest disinfectant and oxidant available in drinking water treatment. It is colorless gas, relatively unstable, especially at higher pH, as it reacts with itself and within water, within OH in water. Okay, that is ozone is one of the strongest disinfectant, you can say, and oxidant available in the drinking water treatment, and it is a colorless gas. Okay, it is colorless gas, relatively unstable. Okay, especially has a higher pH, you can say, especially has a higher pH, as it reacts with itself with the OH in the water. So ozone, what happens? It leads an enhanced disinfection. Ozone leads an enhanced disinfection with a reduced and lesser toxic. Toxic is very lesser in the DPBs, mainly including aldehydes and ketones and carboxyl acids. That is, your byproduct of the disinfectant, byproduction will be less. So ozone is also helpful in removing of the taste and odor also. Ozone is also helpful in the removal of taste and odor. So for example, say, or removal of taste and odor, ozone will be also helpful. Organic and inorganic matter. Say organic and inorganic matter. Micropollutants such as pesticides and pharmaceuticals also. It also helps to enhance the flocculation and coagulation process. This is also one of the good method. Ozone is a must generated on site, used immediately. So please remember, ozone is must generated on site. Okay, and used immediately. This is one of the main factors. Used immediately, as it is a very, very short half-life. As it has very short half-life. Typically less than, not greater than 30 minutes, or less than 30 minutes. Okay. Thus, it can be used as primary disinfectant. It can only use a primary disinfectant, and residual residual cannot be maintained. See, residual is there, no? That cannot be maintained at the downstream porous ocean. Whatever the residual, that cannot be maintained because the short life. Because of downstream, you cannot maintain because of short life. Secondary disinfectants such as chlorine and chloramine must be added in the downstream. For example, you want to residual. This ozone will not give residual. It will not give residual. Okay. For residual, what you have to do? You have to use a secondary disinfectant again. You have to use secondary disinfectant. Which is secondary disinfectant then? Secondary disinfectant nothing but chlorine or chloramine. Secondary disinfectant nothing but again it is chlorine and chloramine. Must be added maintained to residual within the distribution system if needed. Obviously we need it usually. Residual chlorine should be there because of the control of the regrowth of the bacteria. But ozone will be helpful to removal of taste and odor. Right. The removal of taste and odor. It's very good. As well as organic and inorganic matter, micropollutants such as pesticides, very important, and pharmaceuticals. So this will be helpful. And it has a lesser toxic DPPs. Okay. Lesser toxic DPPs. Lesser toxic DPPs. So now, but it is a strong disinfectant, you can say, with a short period of time. How the treatment has done, we'll see. How the treatment has done, which we'll see now. Ozone is generated on site. One important matter is ozone is generated on site. As I told, ozone is generated in the on site and thus uses either dried air. Thus, we either use dried air, required air dryer and compressor. Dried air. We need air dryer and compressor, or liquid oxygen, preferred as it is produce higher percent weight by concentration of ozone. Okay. The solubility of the ozone in water depends on the temperature and its concentration in the feed gas. The solubility of the ozone in the water is depend upon the temperature and its concentration in the feed gas. Ozone contractors. Diffused bubble or inline injection system are used in the dissolved ozone water. So here one of the main thing is one on-site bion ozone generator. Used either your hair dryer, require like air dryer, dried air, or a compressor, or liquid oxygen you can use. The solubility of the ozone water depends on the temperature and its concentration in the feed gas. Temperature and the concentration in the feed gas. So ozone contractors, diffused bubble or inline injection systems. Figure you can see. Inject or the inline inject system or diffused bubble. Diffused bubble also we can, the contractors or dissolve ozone in the, used to dissolve ozone in the water. Ozone has to dissolve in the water. For that, what process we are using means diffused bubble or inline injection system we are going to use. Diffused bubble system with a concurrent or counter current flow, more common in the drinking water treatment, as they can be better controlled to ensure desired contact time if needed. More than one chamber are provided to ensure sufficient contact time between the ozone and water. So that is also one of the important parameter we can see here. That is diffused bubble system. Diffused bubble system also one of the major platform to dissolved ozone can be dissolved easily. With a counter current flow are more common in the drinking water. As they can be better controlled to ensure desired contact time if needed, more than one chamber are provided to ensure sufficient contact between the ozone and water. So that is one you have to keep in mind. To exhaust gas from the ozone contractors must be recycled. Whatever the exhaust gas will be there from the ozone contractors, it has to be recycled or destroyed to minimize the exposure risk. Okay? The exhaust gas from ozone contractor must be recycled or destroyed to minimize the exposure risk, as all applied ozone may not be get transferred into water. As all applied ozone may not be get transferred into water. Ozone destructors usually use heat or combination of heat and catalyst to remove ozone from air. Okay? To remove ozone from air. So now next one, see the figure here. Importantly, ozone generators you can see here. Exhaust gas from the ozone contact must be recycled. Please remember, this should be recycled and or destroyed, whatever you do, but it should not be minimize the risk of exposure risk. It should be minimized. And destructors usually use heat or combination of heat to catalyst remove the ozone from the air. That also you can do it. So now see here, ozone generators, that is maybe air or oxygen feed. You can see here air dryer or liquid oxygen. Ozone injector creators micro bubbles or diffuser bubbles. Injectors, like it is a bubble or diffuse bubble or inline injecting systems. Here the storage tanks of flocculation or any column. Okay, the from well. Okay, and here to here the recirculating filtered water line back tank, here it will be there. This is recirculated, and here pump pressure tanks will be there. Automatic filtration systems will be there. Then clean water into water house will be traveled. This is about your ozone system. Okay, this is about ozone treatment system. So it is one of the major, one of the, after chlorination we are using ozone also used, also UV also one of the major system, but in that air compressor is required or the diffused, but you make sure that recycling also very important. We'll see some advantages and disadvantages regarding this, okay. So before going to advantages and disadvantages, we'll go for a action, how the action was there in the treatment system, okay, how the actions are in the treatment system, okay. So we should know the actions also. This is about disinfection unit. If you say here, look, when the ozone is added to water, a complex chain reaction results the formation of radicals. Okay, when the ozone is added, that is O3. Remember O3. When the ozone is added to the water, the complex chain of the reaction results in the formation of such as hydroxyl radicals, that is OH. Okay, see here the OH, hydroxide radicals, OH, which is stronger than the ozone itself. Very important. Which is stronger than the ozone itself. Okay, so that is radicals of hydroxyl or hydroxyl radicals. So higher pH facilitates ozone decomposition due to increased hydroxyl reaction formation. So whereas lower pH shows down ozone decomposition, resulting in higher concentration of molecules zone. So what you have to do means, just keep in the mind, the pH facilitates ozone decomposition due to increased hydroxyl radical formation, whereas this is higher pH, where the lower pH says that lesser than 7, which shows the decomposition resulting higher concentration of in the molecular zone. Okay, molecular zone. The rate of ozone decomposition increases significantly due to OH formation. Okay, the rate of ozone decomposition increases significantly due to OH formation. When the pH is greater than 8 and ozone radicals are difficult to maintain at the pH level greater than 9. So the thing is like the ozone decomposition increases significantly due to OH formation. Very important, OH formation. When the pH is greater than 8, the ozone radicals are difficult to maintain at pH, that is in the pH 8. That is decomposition increases significantly when the pH is, but ozone radicals are difficult to maintain at pH is less than 9. So what to do? What in the case of this thing? Which a situation where same. Uh, Now, the other water qualities parameters also impact the ozonation. Higher alkalinity affect pH control. See, other water parameters also impact ozonation. Okay, so that is impact ozonation. So now, for example, higher alkalinity affects pH control, whereas turbidity organic matter and inorganics like iron and manganese all increases ozone demands. See, disinfecting and oxidative properties of the relatively independent of the temperature. However, temperature increases, the solubility of the ozone will be decreases. So, this is about your O3. This is about your radicals OH. So that radical oxidation AOP, and this is a direct oxidation. This is the off or gases ozone. This is the 7. Hope so. Understood. So, what about advantages and disadvantages? If you see advantages and disadvantages. So, as also advantages, if we look, I'll take one more very important of advantages and disadvantages of the ozone. What are the advantages and disadvantages which will be there in this? If we say, if we concentrate on advantages, handwriting will be little not be very good, so we'll go to small letter because I cannot write clearly. O3 is highly effective killing of bacteria. What is that? Effective killing of bacteria. Highly effective killing of bacteria. So that is one important, effective killing. Okay, as disinfectant, killing bacteria, viruses and protozoa and always generated on site. It does not require transportation and storage of dangerous material. Okay, no transportation. It's on site we are preparing. So does not require transportation or storage or dangerous material. As a disinfectant, it oxides organic and inorganic, both. Oxides organic and inorganic. Organic and inorganic. Okay, organic and inorganic says. So, handwriting will not come good here. So we'll see in the picture itself. Here it is ozone treatment. The first one is effectively killing the bacteria, and about this, and the disinfectant does not consist of any inorganic and organic impurities such as iron and manganese. It will also oxidize the sulfides, which can assist in the filtration. So that is also an important advantages and disadvantages. Sorry, the advantages. As it is 50% stronger oxidizer than chlorine. It requires significantly less contact time to remove organic and inorganic compound than conventional methods. So that is one more advantage. because as it is 50% stronger oxidizer than chlorine, as it is 50% stronger oxidizer than chlorine, it requires significantly less contact time to remove inorganic and organic compound than the conventional methods. So now the ozone produces less THM disinfection byproducts. One more important thing, you know that already, if the byproduct will be less, that means advantages only for us, right? So the byproduct will be less, means for that advantages also a more for in this treatment. So that is, ozone produces less THM, that is DF means, you know that DBP, disinfection byproducts, that results from the chlorine disinfection. Wastewater treated with this disinfection do not contain chlorine or chlorinated disinfection byproduct, thereby making dechlorination unnecessary. So dechlorination process is not required. And one more thing, there is one disadvantages is there, that will be discussed in the disadvantages. This is about the advantages, which is O3 is highly, that killing bacteria will be there, and transportation will not be there, dangerous chemical travelers will be not there, material will not be traveled. So it's on spot. And one more thing is, all disinfectant it oxides in organic and organic impurities such as iron, manganese, whatever you take, it will be oxidized sulfides, which can assist the filtration, and 50% stronger than the chlorination. That's oxidizer than the fluoride. It requires significantly less contact time to remove. Ozone produces less, and byproduct also will be less. Now we will come for the disadvantages in the ozone. Just listen. Disadvantages in the ozone. Because of its toxicity, this chemical need to be constantly monitored. Because of the toxicity, monitoring is very continuously monitoring. Okay. Within the ozone system, there are higher than fatal concentration of the ozone. That releases of the gas would be clearly be highly dangerous. Ozone detectors and other safety steps are essential. The detectors and other safety steps are essential here. That is, we have to keep in the mind. So that is one important thing. Now another thing is, a related disadvantages is that ensure the conformation of the building regulations and fire codes concerning the storage of liquid high purity oxygen, although it forms less THM chlorine based on the disinfectant bromine present in the water will be formed. This is equally dangerous. A little dangerous is this chemically. Ozone has a half-life 20 minutes in air and water depending upon their leaving no residual kill of the pathogens in the water. After this time, and another disinfectant must be added. So the lifetime is very short. That is one of the bad or disadvantages we can say. And one more thing, if you consider, it must be so ozone has a half-life 20 minutes in air and water depending upon, therefore leaving no residual kill of pathogens in the water. So after that it will not kill. It is also most expensive technology in this reviews. The system need to be highly automated and very reliable in this comes with the cost. So I hope you understood about the disinfection. O3. Ozone is a pale blue gas actually. Distinctly pungent smell will be there. The technology has been used for the potable water treatment. Pungent smell will be there. Okay. So shall we move to another topic? which is which required another 20 minutes or 25 minutes of time to discuss about another topic, which is importantly we can say ultraviolet it's also ultraviolet disinfectant. Disinfection with ultraviolet radiation. Before that, we studied about ozone treatment, disinfection with ozone, and ozone treatment process, ozone reaction in the water. So now we'll move on to another topic, which is disinfection with ultraviolet radiation. What? Disinfection with ultraviolet radiation. What is disinfection with ultraviolet radiation? We studied about chlorination. We studied about ozone. Now what will be this ultraviolet radiation? How it will be affect? How it efficiently will give the result to the water treatment system, or as a disinfectant, how it can be useful. Okay, so now if you concentrate on disinfectant of ultraviolet treatment, then it will be a good thing. So now the UV spectrum, everyone know that UV spectrum is higher in energy. You know that it is higher in energy, higher frequency, that is higher frequency and lower wavelength. UV spectrum. Your frequency is higher in lower wavelength. The wavelength will be, if you take electromagnetic spectrum, the extra wavelength, extra ultraviolet wavelength, the visible light will be there, infrared wavelength will be there. So like in the X-rays, you can see till 100 wavelength will be passed on it. So ultraviolet means like UV, vacuum UV, UVC, UVB, UVA, that is low pressure to Hg low pressure, lamp 254 nanometers. So in the wavelength will be in the nanometer. And visible light usually you can see it in spectrophotometer, which will be detect the heavy metals also we can detect it by using this visible light, infrared, or else we can say spectrum, or else we can say what? The spectrum especially. After the still infrared will be there, infrared zone, visible light zone, infrared zone. So wavelength depends. Okay. Now that is what is the spectrum has a higher energy. What energy? It is higher frequency and lower wavelength than visible light. Ultraviolet, especially I am telling UV spectrum. See, in the UV spectrum, there will be a frequency will be higher. This is UV spectrum, right? In the UV spectrum, that is ultraviolet zone, ultraviolet spectrum. You can see this is the electromagnetic spectrum, which has a series of wavelength, where we were divided into X-ray. This is rays. This is ultraviolet rays. So visible light and infrared zone. This is the electromagnetic spectrum. In this electromagnetic spectrum, when I am concentrating on UV spectrum, it has a higher energy where there is a higher frequency and lower wavelength. Okay. So it is known compared to than visible light. When you compare to visible light zone or visible light electromagnetic spectrum, you have a high energy, high frequency in low nanometers or low wavelength. Okay. So now it is known to be effective disinfectant due to its strong germicidal or inactivating. Germicidal or inactivating ability. It is known as effective disinfectant. We can say ultraviolet spectrum is an effective disinfectant due to its strong inactivating ability. One more name is called germicidal ability. UV disinfectant water containing bacteria and viruses. Where UV disinfectant, when we are considering UV disinfectant, water containing bacteria and viruses and can be effective against protozoa like your Lampeliaceae cyst or the Cytopotamosim cyst or many of the protozoa like that can be removed. That is bacteria, your viruses as well as Lampeliaceae cyst. When UV light enters to a microorganism, what happens? That its energy leads to damage. When the UV light enters to any microorganism, its energy leads to damage. The microorganism cellular function by 10 minutes. By that is damages microorganism cellular function by physical damage. When the UV light, for example, take a UV light and pass through microorganisms. When it enters to the microorganisms, its energy leads to damage the microorganisms. What damages? It's the cellular function of the physical damages, including strand breaks. The energy absorbed by the DNA and inhibits cell replication. Okay, that is what the duty the function which will do the ultraviolet radiation. Very good, no? Very, very important and very good, we can say. This is what it will be the main duty. So I hope you understood this topic. There will be no much clarification. Okay, so that which has a, see this electromagnetic spectrum here, which has a zone of X-rays and ultraviolet rays and visible light and infrared rays at a different nanometer. Up to 100 nanometer you can say, up to 100 nanometer, that is nanometer you can say X-ray zone, and 200, 280, 315, 330 you can have a variety of your UV distribution, that is ultraviolet spectrum zone, that is special curve cell inactivation. You can see that is a special curve cell inactivation. You can see it here. Okay, which will be very, very important in terms of this particular our water treatment processes. We'll move to another slide. UV lamp for disinfection. What is a UV lamp? That is your rays intensity, light intensity of the lights. That is low pressure. If you take UV lamps, wavelength should be at 255 nanometer. Low intensity will be there. If you go to medium pressure MP, you can say UV lamps will be wavelength between 100 to 1000 nanometer. High intensity, and the pulsed UV lamps intermittent emission at the high intensity. There will be 3 categorized. Low pressure UV lamps, that depends. Medium pressure that is UV lamps, and low pressure UV lamps will be there. Okay, this is also one of the important terminology in water treatment system, and this is also great. Many of the almost it will kill 99% of the germs and bacteria. Okay, so here UV purify does not use any chemicals like chlorine or leave any harmful products. That is also one, you can say, advantages. Okay, that is your one more thing, that it is in choosing of the UV unit size. That is also very important. How we will unit size we will decide it in this. That if you take that, then ultraviolet, like if you draw water from the private water supply, it is recommended to treat your entire home like that. The UV light is natural process and does not much produce harmful chemicals. That is one you can keep in mind. Okay, and it is also a odorless purification, most effective method and bacteria of the urination, potentially harmful for pathogens homes water, destroy illness causing microorganisms by attacking their genetic core of DNA, especially I told you in the physical side. So now we'll move to UV disinfection advantages and disadvantages. If you look after what happened, what is advantages and disadvantages, where UV disinfection is an effective at initiating most viruses, that's inactivating. I mean, one is effectively inactivating most of the viruses, spores and cysts. Very important. And does not alter taste, odor, color, pH. It does not alter taste, odor, color, pH of the water. Here we are passing the rays on that, which will be directly attacking physical damages. I mean, physically, that is especially on the DNA of the viruses, that is inactivating. You can see that is cellular. Directly it is, you can see damage of the cellular function of the physical damages, including stand breaks, the energy absorbed by the DNA, and inhibit cell replication. Okay, cell replication, and does not require the addition of chemicals. That is one more important advantages. It does not require any addition of chemicals. Does not impart toxic byproduct into water. Does not impart a toxic byproduct into water. Systems are compact and easy to install. Which is easy to install. Systems are compact. So there is one of the very good advantage, and very we can maintain neatly when in the forms of that. But when it comes to a picture, when it comes to disadvantages at the low dosage may not effectively inactivate some virus. Your dosage or the frequency of the light or the LP, what you can say, the low pressure or the low 254 nanometers. May not be effectively inactivate of the some viruses or spores or cases. Some. But organisms can sometimes repair and reverse the, see, one more disadvantage is here, the organisms can sometimes repair and reverse the destructive effective UV through the repair mechanism known as what? Photoreactivation. Photoreactivation, or in the absence of light, is known as dark repair. It is one of the disadvantage we can say. Organisms can sometimes repair or reverse destructive effect of UV through repair mechanism. That is known as photoreactivation, or the absence of light known as dark repair. Turbidity and total suspended solids in the water, wastewater can under UV disinfection is ineffective. UV disinfection is not cost effective as chlorination, but it's cost competitive when the dechlorination is used as a fire coats are met. Then it will be cost as a competitive. Chlorination and dechlorination used for the fire coats are met. So that is a major disadvantages you can say in this particular concept. Major disadvantages will be that one. So that is what we discussed about your one more method that is we discussed now. After chlorination, disinfectant method after chlorination, we discussed two methods. What is that? The method is one, ozone treatment process, and another one method is called disinfection of ultraviolet radiation method. So one is chlorination method, that is chlorine. There is a many forms of chlorine was we studied, and disinfection of ultraviolet we did, and one more is ozone reaction in the water. So now we'll go to some of the byproduct implication of different disinfectant. What we can do byproduct? If you say the 12 minutes. If we concentrate on chlorination, the byproduct implementation, that is triallomethanes and trialloacetic acids are formed the reaction of the natural organic matter which I told, where chlorine is obtained from the hypochlorine and chlorate, and bromine formation can be issued depending upon the bromine content or salt used. So that is where we can use this is, that is the bromine content and salt used in the manufacture and subsequent condition storage of hypochlorite can used and controlled by appropriate product of specification manage of the storage. There we can slightly we can use this chlorination, where the manufacture of subsequent condition of storage of hypochlorite can be controlled by appropriate product specification management of the storage. There it will be little we can use it. Chlorination, no significant of byproduct issues, and nitrate formation in the distribution has been indirect issue. That is chloramination. That's no significant byproduct. Actually, in your as chlorination, you are not getting much byproduct, and in the chlorination also, the pre-chlorination has more byproduct, right? And chloramination, no significant byproduct issues. Nitrate formation distribution has been indirect issue. And ozone, as I told in the ozone, so you can see here a bromine, where I studied, where I told, somewhere I told. So that bromine the bromine formation is there. Now that bromine formation in the water is high concentration of bromides. So dosage rates in the future are like if you go to chloride dioxide, that is your chlorine dioxide formation. If you go through chlorine dioxide formation, here the dosage rates in the future are likely to be limited consideration of organic byproducts, chlorate and chloride, in accordance with the current international practice. So UV, no significant byproduct issues. Okay. So that is about this one. So that is much. You don't have any much byproduct significant issues. So only the chlorination you have some of the we have some of the issues in regarding byproduct that has to be managed or implication in this manner. So we'll move to another slide as the last slide of today's part, which will be limitations, advantages and limitations in the certain. For example, we studied methods, some of the methods and the advantages and disadvantages in the particular method. If you take chlorination, well understood disinfectant, means chlorination is one good well understood disinfectant, capability established dosing technology, capable establishing dosing technology, and chlorination of byproduct and taste odor issues can be affected. This is the advantage. If we take an advantage, well understood disinfectant capability, established dosing technology, chlorination byproduct and taste odor can be affected acceptably. You can see some of the ineffective against cytoplasmodium. That will be there, but chlorination byproduct will be taste. Odor issue also little is there. You can say in your home, sometimes in the municipal water supply, chlorine smell will be there. So that is some limitations. But it is well understood disinfectant, we can say. Well understood and well experienced, we can say. Everyone used and experienced, well understood. Man can use easily and well. So chloramination also no significant byproduct issues. That is one good advantages, we can say. No significant, like your byproduct will not be there in this. So that is one of the good, what you can say, advantages. But less taste and odor. That is also one advantages, you can say. Less effective than the compared with an chlorine. Not usually practical as a primary disinfectant. Okay. That is not used as practical as a primary disinfectant. So ozone is a strong oxidant and highly effective disinfectant. Third one, like ozone. Like ozone is a highly effective disinfectant compared with an chlorine benefits of destruction of organic micropollutant. You can say ozone, one of the strong oxidant and highly effective disinfectant compared with an chlorine benefits of the destruction of organic micropollutant and pesticides, taste and odor compounds. But one of the major limitations in this ozone is bromine byproduct and increased assimilable organic carbon, that AOC, can impact on the regrowth of distribution. Complex energy instead of an expensive equipment compared with an chlorination distribution, long-lasting distribution. So what happened here, it is like equipment modification or equipment will be required more as compared to chlorination. Chlorination is very flexible, you can say, as compared to your ozone, but the advantages effective will be more. That is where effectively you can use it. When we come to chlorine dioxide can be more effective than the chlorine. Higher pH and less taste when you take here. That can be more effective than the chlorine. Higher at pH and less taste and odor byproduct issues. Weaker oxidants than ozone or chlorine, thus limited by consideration of inorganic byproduct. Okay. So if you take UV is generally high effective of protozoa, bacteria and most viruses, practically like cytoprotozoum, which is not correct. Less effective for viruses than the chlorine, no residual distribution. Residual distribution you cannot do. That is again you have to add again chlorine. Again you will get limitations. That is again the limitations of UV. That is again the limitations of UV. Okay. So this is about your today's topic. Just will recall the topics of disinfection. So we are finishing with this part. We are finishing of our disinfection part. Some of the problem is there, like regarding some of the some numericals which regarding that how much chlorine we can use, that is disinfectant. So we studied about please concentrate here disinfections, what related it is, the need of disinfection versus sterilization, objectives and approaches, disinfection mechanism, typical methods in the disinfection, properties of an ideal disinfectant, properties of a common disinfectant, factor affecting of disinfection, chlorination, very important factor in the forms of the chlorination here, chlorination reaction in the when the chlorine demand, chlorine residual, hypochlorites, chloramination, chlorine dioxide, and what is very important curve which is called breakpoint chlorination, residual chlorine, chlorination risk when it is in the DPBs, types of chlorination, chlorine systems, figure, disinfection by the with ozone treatment process, ozone reaction in the water, disinfection with an ultraviolet radiation, UV lamps disinfection, ultraviolet radiation with an advantage and disadvantage, byproduct implementation of the disinfectant, and advantages with the limitation of common disinfectant. This is about your disinfectant in the module number 4, and we are next part we are going to discuss about other treatment systems, miscellaneous treatment process in module 4. Thank you very much. I'm signing off.